It's so good to be back here with you. You know, it's always good to have a great conversation with you. And you came and did a training for us this last Thursday and talked about behavioral, and then it led into fitness. And I don't think our people could get enough. So today we thought we would bring you in and talk to you a little bit more about and expand on fitness. Obviously, that's what you do. So how long have you been in the fitness business?
I've been in the fitness business for 37 years.
37 years, okay.
So I opened my first gym when I was 18 years old. I just lucked out, met a man who was closing a gym and asked me if I wanted it. And
Okay, so were you in the workout mode doing all the things that when you were 18, or was this something that kind of shaped you?
Well, what happened is I was 18 years old, and I'd been sick, and I didn't get to go to this competition. So I ended up getting somebody paid for my way to go to the USPF Powerlifting State Championships. And this was in Dallas at the Dallas County Convention Center. So I'm just a kid, and I was kind of scared to death, but I already had the entry fee. And so I went to this competition, and I noticed when I walked in, there was a man in a polo T-shirt and slacks. And to me, he was an old man. He was probably 40. And but he was very muscular. And I went up to him, and I just said, you know, I don't know what you do, but that's how I want to look. You know, and I started talking to him a little bit. And it ended up, he was a insurance salesman in DeSoto, Texas. And he also owned 3 franchises in Dallas, the Texas Powerhouse Gym. And it just so happened he was going to be closing one of the gyms. But anyway, we talked, and I noticed that he kept following me around to my stations. And I was real scared because these were men I was competing against. Well, I ended up winning the competition.
And you were 18?
18 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And he came up to me afterwards, and he said, hey, you know, we talked about gyms. How would you like to own your own gym? And I said, well, you know, I didn't even really have a good place to live at the time, and I could barely afford my $100 a month truck payment. And he said, well, you know, there's something about you. I trust you, and I can tell you're really into it. What if I give you the equipment, and you don't have to make me any payments until you get the gym going? And he said, you know, I said, well, I don't know when I'll be able to do that. He said, I don't care. He goes, I know you'll be good for it. So I said I would do it. And I gave it, 2 of my buddies, we had flatbed trailers, and I lived in Ennis, and we drove to Dallas back and forth to Ennis probably about 12 hours back and forth, unloading all this equipment. I found a friend that let me store it in their building. And I found a guy who had a storage building place. And it was just storage building, but I got him to air condition one for me and put up sheetrock and carpet. I slept behind the desk.
Oh, my goodness.
And anyway, I got the gym going, and I paid him back within 6 months.
Wow, talk about opportunity.
So, yeah, I mean, being in the right place at the right time and just taking a chance. And I think, you know, youth is good because I was too dumb to really know how business worked, but I learned really quick, and that was probably the best way. So that's kind of how I got into it. I had a friend of mine open up a huge gym in DeSoto, Texas, probably about 2 years later. And he came and he said, I want you to manage it. And I said, well, I can't. I own this gym here. And the next week, somebody came by and offered to buy my gym from me. Said they would love to have one. So I sold it to them, and then I moved to DeSoto. Started managing his gym. I did it for another year. And then I was training a girl who got second place in the Miss Olympia, which is the biggest bodybuilding show. And Joe Weider flew her to live in California for a year. And she was a trainer. And she asked me if I would take over her clients. And I said, sure. So that's how I got into personal training.
Wow.
So it just kind of went from there.
Wow. So is everybody in your family kind of into fitness?
No, I'm the only
Kim,
one.
your wife.
Well, my
seems
wife,
to
my
be,
son, and my daughter. Yeah,
Okay.
but I mean, from my family the home that I came from, no, we were kind of partiers and drinkers, and
Okay.
and I was a fighter.
Oh, fighter.
And so things kind of changed over time.
Okay.
And I think probably Kim had a lot to do with that. She was kind of the stability in my life. And,
Okay.
but I think the weightlifting, that came from, I had to have an outlet because I had a lot of anger when I was younger. And it just provided me an outlet where I wouldn't get in as much trouble. And I power lifted because I was always chubby, and I just thought I didn't have that type of body. And then I met people over time, and they'd give me little tidbits of information on how to eat. Some were really wrong, and fortunately some were right. And then I found out I needed to educate myself. And so that's when I really started, I went to school, audited a bunch of classes, and it's kind of led me to where I am.
Well, today what we're going to talk about is we have a office full of women. And I know a lot of them, several of them work out with you.
Yes.
And I want to talk to you a little bit about that because as we age women, after we turn 50-ish, you just kind of want to feel good again. And you want to, your body, sometimes you wake up, your body's aching, you feel like you're allergic to everything you eat. You can tell when you eat too much sugar, you can tell when you eat too much carbs, you can tell when you drink too much alcohol. It shows up in your joints and it just makes you feel icky. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that today.
Okay.
Are you good with that?
I'm good with anything.
Okay.
Well, you think about it, we get out of high school, maybe go to college, and the activity levels decrease a lot. And, college, you may go through those years where you tend to eat a little bit more or drink your calories, but still a calorie is a calorie. And, I don't want to say let ourselves go, but kind of we do, and I've always made my workouts a priority. If I can get my workout in, that lets me do everything else I want to do, and I think I do a better job. But I think we kind of let that slip away, and then you think you might get married, you might have kids, and it just seems overwhelming. I think because most of us think that we need to work out every day. I think we think that we need to, run a whole lot and, spend time in the gym. And there's really a lot of misconceptions out there. There's so many misconceptions. And one of the things I was talking about at the seminar is that the fitness industry is a $8 billion a year industry. And it thrives because of our failures.
I believe that.
And so it's in their best interest to keep us confused and not tell us the truth. And which has always been, a struggle for me in the past because I fought it. I fought arguing with people about, they would come in and go, well, I read this or I read that. And it's, now I've learned to say, well, let me know how that works for you.
Well, let me just tell you, I was sitting next to somebody the other day that is a very diehard fitness person in our office. And I say diehard, she walks and runs every day and works out. And when you said you need to eat carbs, I thought she just went, what are you talking about? Because this girl does not eat hardly any carbs, and she's thin, she's beautiful. And she was shocked by that.
Yeah, I'm in a little box all day, the gym, and so I don't really get out much, and I'm always kind of preaching to the choir. And it is really cool when I get out, like coming here. I'm still shocked that people don't know the truth. But then again, I'm not shocked because I see what's out there on Instagram and Facebook, and that's really provided a platform for a lot of people who know nothing about nutrition to act like they do. And you have people selling certain supplements that go along with a certain diet, and everybody's trying to make money off of it.
Absolutely.
And it's our ignorance, and it's that extreme emotional desire. And I always say that the biggest epidemic we have in modern times is confirmation bias, is that we are so guilty of seeking out information that is in line with our current thoughts or in line with our current desires. And boy, once you commit to that, heaven forbid anybody ever try to tell you that that's not the correct method, because they will bite your head off.
Absolutely.
And they become so indoctrinated, so dogmatic about the proper way to eat or their workout program that it's really hard to have a conversation. I would put it right up there with probably religion and politics.
Absolutely. You're exactly right.
Just we're not real open to having the conversation.
Right.
And
so back to, I'll just say her name is Shaylin. She was sitting next to me, and she is like amazed by what you were saying. And it was almost like it was a relief for her because she's punishing herself.
Yeah.
How many times do we punish ourselves with the diet because we feel like we're on this diet? And we even talked about intermittent fasting. And, some of our people are punishing themselves not eating anything until 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon even. So I think it's so hard to stick to some type of, if you're going to call it a diet or some program, if it's not something you're going to enjoy doing.
And continue to do for the rest of your life.
Exactly. I see where some of our ladies will go a little while, they'll do it, and then they'll fall off the wagon, and then they'll get back up on and try it again. But, there's all kinds of, things like the semaglutide, the Opesiac, or whatever that's called, those little shots that are out right now, that makes them lose weight. But unless they change their eating habits, it doesn't do any good.
Well,
long term.
you're just eating less.
Yes.
And less calories is less weight. I mean, it's a mathematical formula. I mean, if you're expending more than if you're eating more than you're burning, then you're going to gain weight. If you're expending more than you're consuming, you're going to lose weight. It's just math. But it's even more important than that, because what am I losing, right? We want to lose fat. And a lot of the things that we're doing, we're ending up losing a lot of muscle mass.
Absolutely.
So now here we are 50 years old, and it's hard to lose weight. Well, it's because of the methods that we've used up until this point, till 50, we're 50 years old. And so, I mean, it's easy for me to see what's going on, but it's hard for them to see what's going on. There's a thing I always say, it's not that we can't see the solution, it's that we can't see the problem, right? The solution would be to eat less. But the problem is, why aren't we? Why are we eating? Why are we eating more than we should? Why are we not food prepping? Do I eat when I'm bored? Do I eat when I'm depressed, when I'm angry? I mean, all this emotional eating that we do. But a lot of it is just the methods that we choose. They're digging the hole so deep, it's going to be really, really hard to get out of. And so that's what I try to, I mentioned to before, to learn, you must unlearn. I mean, I know what you've read and I know what you think. But for some of the people that we're talking about, you might be thin, but you have a low level of body mass, muscle mass, and a high level of fat, even though you're thin. And it's sad to me that I'll have women come in that are 80 years old, and it's like I'm having this conversation with them again. And it's like these people they've lived their whole life thinking about their weight and being concerned about their food.
Okay.
The truth is you should be eating all day long.
Let's talk about that. Tell us how we should be eating.
Okay, so I'll start with our brain is our body's number one priority. We have to go with the brain, okay? The brain is why we think the way we think, why we do the things we do, why we behave the way we do. And it's a calorie hog. It prefers a lot of calories, okay? The brain runs exclusively on carbohydrate. Okay, and this is where we were talking about some of the carb people were confused. So everybody's brain needs 120 grams of carbohydrates over a 24-hour period. Okay, we've got to have carbohydrate. That's what the brain runs on.
So what kind of carbs?
Prefers. Okay, I'm not talking about pastries or donuts. Okay, I'm talking about fruits, vegetables, starchy carbs like potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice. There's some cereals that are good, Kashigo lean cereal, some of the carbohydrate, some of the cereals that they've added extra protein to, and there's a lot of those. So those all need to make up the bulk of our nutrition. I mean, carbohydrates need to make up the bulk of our nutrition. Why is that? Well, you take 120 grams of that is going to feed our brain, and the other whatever's left, the macronutrients that I would figure for you, would be used for your muscle. It's like gas in a car in your tank. Your engine prefers gas. Our muscles prefer carbs. Okay, so we need to feed our brain and have enough left to feed the muscle to perform whatever it is we're doing, to provide fuel for whatever it is we're doing. Okay, protein is very important for increasing our immune system and also repairing damaged muscle tissue. Somehow or another, we've got in our brain, our mind, that we need a lot of protein and a little bit of carb. You really don't. You need more carbohydrate, and you need a moderate amount of protein.
Okay, so what does breakfast look like to you?
So breakfast is either a cup of oatmeal or about a fourth of a cup of Quaker Quick Grits. Okay, and with that, what I do is I add...
And those are carbs, right?
Those are carbs.
Okay.
I add a little bit of raisins.
Okay.
That's carb. sprinkle some cinnamon, and I'll use a sugar substitute. And then for me, I like to use vanilla protein powder, or you'll cook eggs. And so a man would approximately need 1 whole egg with 5 whites, and a female would need 3 whites with 1 yolk.
Okay, so I got to ask, if they don't want to eat that much, do they have to eat that much?
Well, if you don't eat that much at breakfast, you're going to make up for it at night.
Okay.
Okay, so like a lot of people go, well, that's just too much food. You're right. It's a lot of.
It
it's a
sounds
volume.
like a lot. Yeah.
But it's low calories.
Okay.
It's low fat. Okay, so like you go get a what are those things called? I'm sorry, I don't eat this food, but that you get the little crescent thing at McDonald's. A Mc.
You don't eat those. I can tell you what they're.
It's got a sausage.
Exactly.
A McMuffin.
It's a McMuffin,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's say an egg McMuffin. It's small.
Okay.
Right.
It's got 1 egg.
So you could have that, or you could have what I just mentioned. And what I just mentioned has about 20 grams less fat.
Okay.
Think about that. So I'm eating this big plate of food with about 3 grams of fat, or I can have a McMuffin, which probably has around 20 to 23 grams of fat. It's a little bit of food, and it's easy. It's cheap. You drive through the drive-thru, you get it. But this 23 grams of fat.
Okay.
Okay? Give you an example. I eat 30 grams of fat in a whole day.
Wow.
You're getting that at breakfast. So how do you recover from that? It's hard to. So the key here, what I'm recommending is a lot of volume of food. You're never hungry, and you go all day long. And if you'll think about it, and I fell into this trap too, I realized the only time I ever lost weight when I was a little bit hungry. So we associate being hungry is the only way we can lose weight. Because it's counterintuitive.
It's like depriving yourself.
Yeah, but I know if I deprive myself, then I'll lose weight. Whereas what I'm trying to get you to do is you're full. You're never eating because you're hungry. You're eating because it's time to eat, like every 3.5 hours.
So, and 1 egg, and for a guy, it's 3 egg whites, or
One guy would be 1 whole egg with 5 whites.
5 whites. So a woman would be 1 whole
1 egg
and
with
3 whites.
3 whites.
So, are you boiling these? Are you scrambling them? What are you
You
doing?
can boil them. You can scramble them in a
Okay.
skillet. Use a nonstick spray.
Okay.
You can make like an egg omelet, or you could do scrambled eggs. However you prefer to eat your egg. You just don't want to do a lot of butter. Okay. We're trying to cut down on the fat. Now, the reason why we're not eating all the yolks is because they're kind of high in fat. But there's some important B vitamins that you can get from the yolk. Okay, so 1 yolk is not going to hurt us. And so we'll throw that in there. And then, so that's breakfast. And then what you want to do is whatever time you eat breakfast, you write that time down, and you go 3.5 hours from that. That'd be a snack. Okay.
What's your snack?
A snack for me would be a protein shake. So I would do about...
Any particular kind of protein?
I get the Optimum Nutrition, the whey protein.
Okay.
I do about 30 grams of protein and 60 grams of carbs.
So it doesn't matter if it's man or woman, that's the same protein.
Well, yeah, okay. So it gets very specific. And this is what's hard. That's why you need somebody to figure it out. I mean, I wouldn't try to sell a house without asking you.
You bet.
So I wouldn't expect somebody to think they can go and do their diet on their own. Even reading a book, it's really hard to tell what you need. So
let's just stop right there. Okay. So you actually do the meal plans for people. You tell them exactly what to eat.
Yes.
Right?
For your goal.
For your
yes.
goal. So in other words, if we were to set up a consultation, I would say, Kelly, I want to be X amount of pounds and I want to have so much muscle, and you decide this is what your meal plan is going to be and this is how much you need to work out.
Yes. But because that's very important because I'm going to write it down. Now, are you willing to do this? If you're not willing to do it, then let's set another goal.
Okay.
Because there's no need in being frustrated. And then what we can do is maybe get to that, but let's start somewhere a little bit less challenging. I mean, if you're going to eat out 3 to 4 times a week, it's going to be hard to get that low body fat that you've been looking for. Okay. Because it's just the restaurants are set up for it to taste good so that ensures our return back to the restaurant. It's not to make us healthy. We're looking for deals. How much food can I get on a plate, and how much chips and hot sauce will they bring out? And that's the place we'll usually go back to, and that's fine. But you only want to do that about once a week if you can. So I suggest sometimes if you do have to go meet friends to eat before you go, and order a glass of tea or water and enjoy the company. You know, now that won't make your friends happy, but over time they'll get used to, well, that's just Cindy. That's what she does. She eats before she comes. And that's okay. I
So
mean,
do you meal prep most of your meals pretty much?
yes, all of my food I eat during the week is food that I make. So I'll cook, anywhere from 8 to 12 chicken breasts on Sunday evening. And that'll last me usually till around Thursday. I have a big rice steamer. I'll steam a lot of rice.
What kind?
It
Brown
doesn't
rice,
matter.
white
Brown,
rice,
white,
jasmine
or
rice, it doesn't
brown,
matter.
white, or white. White rice has been stripped of its nutrients, but then it's been enriched back with them. Okay, brown rice, it has not been stripped, but it has it there. So they both pretty much have the same calories. The brown rice is a little bit lower glycemic index as far as how much of a insulin spike it creates. But the way that we can get around the glycemic index, and if people have been dieting and if they're listening to the show, they probably will know what I'm talking about. You can cut the glycemic index in half on every carbohydrate by adding a protein with it. So you never eat like rice by itself. You never have just a baked potato. You would have a baked potato maybe with chicken breast and rice with maybe fish. So you eat those two together, it eliminates that big increase in blood sugar, okay, because we're adding protein with it. It makes the meal more complex versus simple. And so you always have a protein and a carb together. And to keep it simple, and I would have to get with each particular person, but for women, on average, you're going to have around 20 grams of protein per meal, and that means you would have around 40 to 50 grams of carbs. So a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 carbs to 1 protein.
So what does that look like? What's that food look like? Is it a chicken breast with?
Okay, so that would be like maybe 3 to 4 ounces of chicken on 2 slices of whole wheat bread.
Really?
Yeah.
Bread.
Yeah, bread's fine.
Love
now,
it.
whole wheat bread.
Whole wheat bread.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with whole
Like
wheat
Dave's
bread.
whole wheat bread with the seeds and all that stuff.
Well,
Can you do that?
when you start getting fancy like that, you start adding more to the fat. But we think it's healthy because
I
it's
keep
got
thinking
the,
it.
they
Yeah.
put the package with the old farmer and his wife with a pitchfork, and it looks healthy and like they just plowed the fields. But they start adding a lot of things to that food.
So what kind of bread do you take?
I just get the regular 100% whole wheat bread.
Really?
Just generic. I don't
Sunbeam, something like that.
Yeah, sure. So it's not bad at
I
all.
think
And
I'm doing good by buying that seeded bread.
I know we all do. It
I
looks
really
so
think I'm
healthy
doing
and-
so good. I pay more money for it, thinking I'm
Yes.
doing good.
Yeah, well, they're marketing it like that. It's just like water. I
Wow.
mean, you could have the Ozarka or the Smart Water. I mean, there's no difference. It's water.
Okay.
So we spend a lot more. I think a lot of times we do it for that ego, maybe carrying that Smart bottle of water around.
For
and,
sure.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with this water. So I'm all about saving money and spending that money on my food rather than on anything else.
So on Sunday, you cook about 8-9 chicken breasts.
Yes, I usually grill it, or we have an air fryer.
Okay.
Air fryers are great.
Love it. Do you put spices or anything on
I
it?
do. I put usually Mrs. Dash
Okay.
seasonings, or I'll also use Tony Chachere's, but I get the salt free. I really try to minimize my salt intake,
Okay.
sodium intake, because sodium is extracellular. It stores fluid outside of the muscle. Okay, when you eat a carbohydrate, it pulls the water in the muscle. Okay, muscles are 70% water, so we want a really saturated with carbohydrates and fluid. If you do a low carb diet, you can't hold the water, so your muscles are just flat, and you end up having a real skinny, kind of flabby look because the muscles are deflated. So we want to fill the muscles up with carbohydrates. Now, your muscles are like a gas tank. If I do your body fat, I know how much gas we can put in your car. I know how much carbohydrates we can put in your body. And so we always are going to have to stay within a quota, carbohydrate quota, a protein quota, and a fat quota. But at least you'll know. I give you a plan on this is what your body needs, but now it's up to you to do it. And let me tell you, it's really hard because it's not, a lot of people say, just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Exactly.
Well, that's just not true. You'll find that we've created a lot of our lifestyle around food. We meet with
You do.
friends, we have parties, and it's just really hard to do with the lifestyle we've created. But it just takes a little bit of, again, I said, behave the way you want to be first. So don't think a lot about it. Just do what I have written down, and before you know it, it'll be your new habit. And then what happens is people know me. Oh, there's Kelly again. There's Kim. I guess they're not going to eat.
But you show up, but you don't eat.
We're there, yeah.
Of course.
And I realize we're making you uncomfortable.
Really?
This is not my problem.
Yeah.
And I'll tell people, I'm sorry if I make you uncomfortable.
Wow.
I mean, it's, we
Okay.
eat that, but we just don't do it every day.
Okay. So you make the chicken breast, you make the rice. What else do you make to go with
You
it?
could bake a lot of baked potatoes.
Really?
in the
Like
oven.
regular baked potatoes?
Regular baked potatoes or sweet potatoes.
What do you eat on
I
your
don't
baked
like
potatoes?
sweet potatoes. I just can't.
I don't either.
Kim does. I don't.
I want to put marshmallows and sugar and all that on them if I get
Well,
to eat those.
I mean, I do it pretty plain. I'll do pepper and red wine vinegar. I love that.
On a potato?
Yeah, and
Ooh,
I might
I
dice up
haven't
my
tried
chicken
that.
and put it on top of it.
Okay.
You can use a non-fat or a low-fat sour cream. Put that on there, or you can put non-fat cottage cheese. Tastes just like sour cream.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You could do that.
No cheese, no regular cheese.
Well, you could get a mozzarella, like a skim mozzarella cheese, and put
Okay.
that on there. Sure.
but no salt.
Well, you can use salt in moderation,
Okay.
but we usually don't. And what I would do is I would say, get a little teaspoon and maybe do a teaspoon or less. Okay, because the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, is 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day. The average American consumes over 10,000 milligrams per day.
Oh my goodness.
And a lot of these people you see that are hypertensive, it's because of their sodium intake. And we're eating
Really?
out. And when you eat out, the restaurants know if I pack this food with fat, salt, and sugar, I don't know if they really know the specificity of it, but it floods our brain with dopamine. Okay, and dopamine is that feel-good hormone. And when that gets spiked, we can't wait to get back to that place that spiked it. So they pretty much, they kind of know what they're doing.
Wow. Okay, so do you ever eat pasta?
I do. Yeah,
Just
I love
regular
spaghetti and
pasta
meatball.
and
But I mean,
meatballs?
I'll do that like on the weekend.
Okay.
I consider that more of a cheat meal, and I'll do spaghetti and I'll do a bunch of either ground turkey or sometimes I do hamburger meat
Do you? Okay.
and do it. And I just use, I do like to try to find a little bit lower sodium sauce is what I'll use. I mean, we had pizza this weekend. I had a large pizza by myself.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. and I
Did you
loved
make it yourself?
No, I did not
You
make
bought
it.
it?
We'll either go to, we don't do anything fancy. We'll go to one of the little Caesars
Sure.
or Domino's or something like that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I
What do
eat
you-
it and I enjoy it.
What do you have on it though?
Whatever I want, anything. I mean,
Really? So
nothing's off limits.
your weekend thing is it like one day of the weekend that you?
Yeah, usually Saturday. I'm a little more flexible. It could be that I eat my regular meals all day and then we eat out at night.
Gotcha.
Or it could be I have a hamburger at lunch and I go and have Mexican food in the evening. I mean,
See,
it's just
that keeps
whatever
you
I
from
want.
being deprived to be able to do that.
No, I'm not deprived. I
That's
have
good.
that. And, this is not about deprivation. When you said earlier that.
You said it's hard though. That's what makes me think when you just say this is hard.
Well, everything is hard before it's easy.
Okay.
Okay, it's not hard for me. I mean, this is easy. I don't even think about food. I mean, if you think about it, the main reason why we think about it is because we're hungry. I'm
Absolutely.
never hungry. I'm always eating right before I get hungry.
Let's go back to talk. All right. So in the morning you eat a pretty good breakfast. You do
Uh-huh.
a protein shake on your snack. What do you have for lunch?
Lunch I have, usually every day I have chicken, rice, and vegetables. Chicken
What
breast
kind of vegetables?
with rice. Frozen. Usually I'll get frozen vegetables. I like kind of a fiesta blend mix, like with broccoli and red peppers and
Okay.
maybe some garbanzo beans and
How much of that do you eat?
a couple of cups.
That's a lot.
Yeah, well, vegetables are like
That's
nothing.
great.
They don't even really count. They're so low in
So
calories.
really no spices or sauces or anything
I
on
put garlic powder and I put Tony Chachere's
Okay.
in my rice and vegetables before.
Ooh,
Now
yeah.
they're already cooked because I've steamed them. I
Sure.
just get a cup and 3/4 or 2 cups of rice. I do 6 ounces of chicken, 2 cups of vegetables. That's a ton of food.
That's a lot of
I
food.
have a hard time finishing it.
But you do.
But you do it. I make myself eat it because I would much rather be full than hungry.
See, Shayla and I were thinking, God, if we ate all this, we'd be fat and huge and all that. So
I know most people think that. But if you look at all the girls that are trainers at our gym, we all eat the same way.
Okay.
And we all look the same way. and nobody's hungry. You know, that's the way. I mean, if you're gonna, how would you want to be hungry for the rest of your life?
Heavens no.
I don't either. I don't want to be thinking about food. And our food is all packed. We get to work, we unpack it and eat it. So after my lunch, I usually work out around 2:00, and so 3 to 4 is a very anabolic period for me. That means a rebuilding phase. So I do a protein shake again right after that workout. Okay, because my body my testosterone levels are elevated, my growth hormone and my insulin levels all elevated, and the gas tank is running empty because I've just ran it really hard on my workout. So the quicker I can replenish a pre-digested protein, which would be protein powder, and a simple sugar, which would be a big banana, okay, that my body, those hormones latch on and drive it right into the muscle.
So did you blend all that up together or something?
You know, at our old gym, we had a shake shop, which I love. But now, you know, what I do is I just have a shaker. I shake up my protein powder and I eat a banana.
Okay.
And I drink that right before my 3:00 client is coming in.
Okay.
Then I'll get home at night. I'll either eat ground turkey with rice or maybe a ground turkey burger with maybe a baked potato. You know, let me tell you something else that's good is to cut your potato into wedges and roll it around in egg whites and then put a lot of garlic powder on it. And then put that in your air fryer.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And do about a 360 temperature for about 8 minutes. And do about 3 flipping over sessions of that. It's like a big French fry.
Ooh, that does sound good.
You know, ketchup is not that bad either. You can put some little bit of ketchup on it. It's delicious.
So again, chicken breast.
Chicken or turkey burger. I'm not a big fish eater, but I would really recommend try to have as much variety as you can.
Do you ever eat steak?
I don't usually eat steak,
Okay.
but I'll eat a hamburger.
Okay.
I love hamburgers.
Is it because you don't like steak or the red meat part of it?
You know, when I was little, I was kind of forced into eating all the fat off the steak
Oh,
because that was supposed to be
Lord.
the best part.
Oh, no.
And I'm just kind of almost gag when I eat steak. So
So that's a personal thing
yeah,
then. So
I mean, I would try to go with a more like a filet mignon, something
Sure.
that's a little bit leaner.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're doing that during the week, if it's on the week, eat whatever you want to eat. Don't
On the
hold
weekend.
back.
Okay.
Yeah, have whatever you want.
Do you ever have ice cream?
I do actually. After we had our pizza, we had cookies and cream.
Oh, my.
So I had that after my pizza.
Do you ever eat yogurt?
Not really.
You're not a big yogurt person.
No,
But
'cause
is,
I mean-
is yogurt bad for you?
The low-fat yogurt is not bad for you.
Okay.
Some yogurts can be just as high-fat as ice cream.
Ice cream, yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
don't kid yourself. Don't think you're like I had some people coming in. They were doing salads from Chick-fil-A.
Sure.
I hate to say that name, but they couldn't lose any weight. Well, I'm doing this healthy salad. I said, bring it in sometime, you know. So they brought it in, and lettuce is really a no calorie. Doesn't really count. Eat as much salad as you want. Okay, but the salad dressing that they were putting on there had like 36 grams of fat. Okay, so would you rather eat 2 hamburgers or would you rather have a salad? You see, we think we're doing good.
See, I don't ever want a salad.
Well, I
mean-
want a salad in addition to my meal.
something, yeah.
And let me tell you a great salad dressing. You put pepper, a package of Sweet and Low, and red wine vinegar.
Seriously, sweet and low.
It's delicious. Yeah, yeah. That vinegar, that acid from the red wine vinegar and the Sweet and Low is delicious.
Wow.
And I cannot believe they're looking into Sweet and Low as a possible carcinogen. World Health Organization. Of all the things we're going to worry about, Sweet and Low, you know, aspartame, saccharin, they're the most studied food product that we eat, and they have never found any side effects. Now, you can go on the internet and get a lot of opinions, but the science shows otherwise. You know, Sweet and Low is basically, it's an isolated amino acid, and when it's isolated, it has a sweet taste to it. So that's the worst of our, you know, people say, well, memory loss. You know, we have memory loss because we can't focus. That was our talk last week. Where the reason why you can't recall things is because you're not present in the moment when you were told that thing. Right? And so it's not that your memory is bad, it's your attention span, your focus.
I think technology does that to us. There's
Absolutely.
just so much going on
Yeah.
here. You know, we're going to have you come back and talk to us more about fitness on Thursday, August the 4th.
Okay.
And it's at 11 o'clock here at the Success Center. I can't wait. I mean, you were blowing people's minds, to be honest with you. When you left last Thursday, they just couldn't believe some of the things, and it just made perfect sense.
It is, common sense is it's not common. And we've been indoctrinated with, we get in our like, if you're an Atkins, I'll tell the story. So I went to a grocery store here in town, and I had to go because they were talking about the keto diet. Keto diet is mainly high fat, low carb.
What do you think about that?
Well, okay, so I admit I'm going into the fire, because there's a lot of people there that were hungry to hear this information. And there was a chiropractor that was leading this PowerPoint presentation. And I could tell he was a little nervous and not real well read on the keto diet because he was saying some things that were questionable. Well, and I had my son there, and there was a couple of our gym members there. And I kept my mouth shut for about 40 minutes. And I'm always considered the bad guy. I'm not trying to be bad. I just want people to be informed. And I'm very respectful. I know that this is your, not podcast, but this is your PowerPoint presentation. And the guy, finally on the slide, about 40 minutes into it, he said, our body prefers fat for fuel. And I raised my hand and I said, I'm sorry, but our brain prefers carbohydrates for fuel. And he said, well, no, I think it prefers fat. And there was a nurse in front of me, probably about a 60-year-old lady. Now, this is a nurse, and I think would know that that's not true. She turned around and she said, why don't you keep your mouth shut? We didn't come here to listen to you.
Wow.
And I said, I am so sorry. But, I mean, I would think that you guys are here to learn about nutrition, and this is not correct. And another guy screamed at me. He goes, well, I have a friend that lost 50 pounds doing the Atkins and doing the keto diet. And I said, well, sir, I'm sorry, but, we can lose weight by being bulimic, but that's not something I would advocate. I mean, you can lose weight by eating less food, but that's not what we need to do. And anyway, they all like, I told my son, hey, let's leave. And we got up, they gave us a standing ovation.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of funny. And it's just that we don't want to hear these things. It's I always say it's calling their baby ugly, because
True.
they've attached to it so much. Keto diet's high protein, it's low carb. The only secret to that is that we usually don't overeat protein. I mean, how many chicken breasts do you want to eat?
True.
Okay, how many steaks do you want to eat? So if you just eat a steak, you cut out the baked potato. The baked potato is not the problem. It's the butter and the sour cream and the bacon bits.
I can see
That's the problem. Now, when you combine all that together, you're looking probably at around 1,500 calories. When you combine that together, you're probably looking at 60 grams of fat. So if we just have steak, you're going to eat less, but it's not healthy for us. So what we had talked about, as I was talking earlier about our brain needing 120 grams of carbohydrate, one of the things I think that got some of the people's attention is that I said that you could go into a coma and die if you didn't eat 120 grams of carbohydrates. However, we are the fortunate ones that have the ability to convert protein into carbohydrate. So what happens is we don't get enough carbohydrates for our brain, then our body releases cortisol, which is a catabolic hormone. And what that does is the cortisol eats up our muscle and it converts it into glucose for our brain. So a person who does a low-carb diet that has lost 20 pounds, you've basically lost 10 pounds of water because you're not eating carbs. You can't hold water, and that's from the muscle. You've lost 5 pounds of fat and 5 pounds of muscle. There's 20 pounds. Okay? In losing 5 pounds of muscle, you just lowered your resting metabolic rate by burning 250 calories less per day. And so when you're doing this diet, you're so excited because the weight's coming off. But what happens is over time you can't keep it up. And then when you do start eating, you blow up really quick. And the body's overcompensating. It's storing extra carbs because you've eliminated the carbs. And it's also holding extra water. And so you've gained back about 20 to 30 pounds more. and it's just a vicious cycle. And you think, well, I'm just not strong enough. I'm too weak. I can't keep this up. Well, it's not that you can't keep it up. Nobody could keep that up.
Absolutely.
And so don't start something that you're not going to be able to finish. And I have people argue with me this, and I feel sorry for them because you'll see them on, say, Facebook, and they've lost about 30 pounds, and they're starting to get pretty cocky. And they start cutting you down. And then slowly but surely you see them gaining their weight back. And then you see they're up 50 more pounds.
Wow.
And you just feel sorry for them because, you know it's coming. I mean, it's only a matter of time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kelly, I can talk to you about this for hours. I love this part of what we talk about. But guys, you can join us on August the 4th here at the Success Center at 11 o'clock if you'd like to. And Kelly, before that, I want to get with you and maybe do a meal that day here in our kitchen.
Love to do that.
Ahead of time, and you can kind of talk to our chef that cooks for us here
Okay.
about that. So she'll prep a really good, healthy lunch that day for us.
Okay. And I bring in notebooks. If you have your phone with a calculator, because we want to do a few figures. I want to show you how to figure how much carbohydrate, protein, and fat you should have. I may, well, we probably won't have time, but I can also do people's body fat. You'd probably have to come by the gym, but we could do it. It takes about 5 minutes
Really?
and no time at all. So
Okay.
that way we can get very specific.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm excited about
Yeah,
this.
me too.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in today with Kelly Hitchcock and myself, Cindy Featherston Shields, for another episode of Elevate. See you next time.